Doing object. Object is the bone of contention of today. That's what we're looking at. And everything we're doing in JavaScript is still not like advanced, or by the way, because we are covering 3 major things or 4 major things: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, bootstrap, So everything is more of like, apart from HTML, everything is kind of introduction. And you are supposed to go in depth, on them and study more and practice, on your own. So here we are, JavaScript objects. I described object last time as something that has properties and method, and one of the things that you can use to define an object that makes you know something is an object is, most of the time, it's always real life, example of what it is. So object in JavaScript is just in many other programming language can be compared to object in real life. So in JavaScript, an object is a standalone entity with properties and types. Like you can use a car, for example. I did this in the last class when I talked about car having color and number of doors and what have you, and what you can do to a car. You can perform several operations on a car. We are not here to abstract all those things you can do on a car, but because we are doing this sample stuff, we're just doing 2 things on a car: start and stop. And you can color the car. You can say the car has the property of color red, and weigh this amount. There are other things you can capture, and what you are capturing depends on the problem or the issues you are being presented to for you to solve. You might be designing a gaming app, and then in the gaming app, your car should have different color. Sure, most of us here have played gaming app, and in those gaming app, you can change color. You can do sort of things. You can have engine size, different kind of car, and what have you. So those are real objects, and I'll be using that to do what we'll be working on today. We'll be doing a small, I won't really call it a game, but it's just something that will look interesting. So we'll be doing that today. I hope we'll be able to finish that today, but let's see how it goes. The next thing we have here is creating an object. We did that as well. In last time, we created an object. Objects are variables. Variables, you use them to hold information. You can also hold that whole card that you saw now. You can assign it to a variable for something to hold it. The code you are seeing on your right, is holding the information that says that the car has a type of coupe. They call it coupe. What they call it. So it can be a Jeep, it can be a crossover. So this one you are saying is a coupe. How is it even pronounced? Coupe or something. And then has 2 doors. Then it's color red. And when you call the start method on it, what happens? It says the car is moving. You can do anything in the function. So you then need to know what is a method and what is a property. So from the code snippets that you can see, you saw the definition or how it is defined. We're going to go into the coding soon. You saw the code block that you have, that jacket here. You saw that this jacket here, it starts the declaration of an object, and then followed by you have the value, the key in this case, the type, the door, the color are the key, and they're also known as properties. And then you have the value being coupe, the 2, and the red becomes the value. Then in the other part where you have start now happens to be a method. A method are things that you can do on the object. So what can you do on an object? You can start it on this particular object. You can actually start the car, and then you see the way we wrote the function, and it also has another curly bracket for you to write what you want start to do. In this case, we just turn it out to the console to log the car is moving. And that's what this pretty code is all about. And this is just to create an objective, an object. Next thing we have here is using this keyword in objects. The word this is very, very important in JavaScript, and is used in so many parts of JavaScript environment. So you need to be careful when you are making use of it. This is the first time I'll be introducing this keyword, or rather the word this. The write-up is there on the left hand side, but I'll just focus on the code. Now if you look at the code where we have that start part, notice that we're able to use this color. What this color means is that you are talking about me, myself, as an object of car. You are saying, you know, there's a place we said color is red. Then if you want to now call up what that color is, you then do this dot color. So the system will now know that the this you are talking about is itself, you know, and then it will assign the value it's supposed to be, and you execute it. If you put this in your console log, it will say my red car is ready to go. That's what it will say, because you have red in color. That's using this in this light. There are other forms in which you can use this, and if you just go to the console and you type this, you will see that it will give you the whole window. The whole window will be presented, because the way this is seen in JavaScript, it depends on the context in which you are using it. Now it says here that which object depends on how this is being invoked. It depends on the used or the call, who is calling it or who is using it. This keyword refers to different objects depending on how it is used. You know, just ignore that line. That's what I just explained right now. Then in an object method, which is this you are looking at, this refers to the objects. In a function, this refers to the global object. So if you are using it in a standalone function, you know, we've been writing functions all this while, where, you know, all the functions we've been writing in calculator. If you mistakenly use the word this, we are calling the global object, you know, of the entire browser. That's what you are calling if you use that this in that scope. Then it's talk about another part where you can use this. In an event, these refer to the element that received the event. We're not dealing with events now. So even though we've played with onClick, you know, we've not treated events as a different entity, we'll eventually go into events. So we might use the word this, and then you see the difference in the usage. So that's what we have in the object scope. Let's go to the coding environment and see what we have in the coding space. Okay, let me leave this one here. Do you guys have any question before we move on? Closing this window. Any question for me? Okay, no question. Let's move on. Guys on TikTok, I won't be able to attend to any questions until I finish our lecture here. Okay, so I have all these things that we've done before. I said I want to do a little game, right? I will just give it a name and say game. I'm going to gist you on what we want to do, because the idea is you need to picture what you want to do first before you start. You don't just start writing code. You know, you have to picture it, draw it out, you know, and give it a form of imagination. You imagine it and see how it plays before you start coding. Let's look at the game we want to design. Let's look at what we want to design. I want to delete all the script we've written. Yes, we have a blanket app. Then I'll call this game. Right, we're good. So what we want to design, I've gone ahead to start prepping for it, and the idea is for us to do a game that will require is a car race, right? That you will have road, and then you have car passing on it. Something simple, no, not so serious, you know, something like this, and then you have car going on it like this. So what that means is that you need something that will be moving, like in form of animation. So let me show you car race that we'll have here. So you have an idea of what we want to do. These ones are not animated. I'm looking for animated one so that we can. So these are supposed to be animated to depict that the road is moving. So I'm looking for that kind of animation that will depict the road is moving. So let me use GIF and then use the word animation. So let's see if we'll have a result So I think I've seen this before. So you can see that, right? This shows a kind of road that is moving. So we can actually use this, right? Or we can use, I have other ones that I've played with or that I've tried. This is another one, but this one is too small and it's not really giving a very interesting view. This is another one, and this is small. So you have endless choice to make. You can make quite a lot of choice. So your car can be anywhere here. So just picture this in your brain now. Our car will be sitting in the middle. When we press left, our car will move to the left. When we press right, our car will move to the right. Like that. That's what we want to do. Very simple. That's what we want to achieve. So now what we are trying to do is for us to get an animated road that will already be moving. Do you get? Do you see this? This is an example of what we want to do. But this time around is one car that will have, but the car will now be moving left, right. That's the game we want to do. Of course, there's a lot of things that comes with a game in terms of points, when you hit obstacles, all those things. We will not detail it today. We'll just start gradually, and as we grow, we will achieve it. Now, looking at this game, what are the things that you've noticed? You've noticed that the background is moving. Very important. As I've said, you need skill in identifying the problem and finding solutions to it. A client just call you that they need something like this as a game. How do you do it? You figure out that, oh, this background is just moving. The car is stationary. By the way, if you don't know, the car is not moving. Kind of. It's an illusion, of projecting movement. So I wish I could get this background because I love this one very well, but I've tried. I can't see background that suits what I'm looking for. However, we are going to use one that I saw one like that. So let me picture the one I saw. Let me bring it out. It's in the app already because I've already gone ahead so that we won't waste too much time. This is the one we're going to use, and I call it road. Even though it's very slow, so we're just going to manage it. Can we see this? So this is the one we're going to use, but it's slow. I think let's see if we can let's use one that is faster. But you see where, let's use one that is faster. We'll be able to change it. Let me look for another one that is faster. But I can't even find what we are looking for again. I have to use another browser. Okay, so let's see. And this, by the way, this is the car. I was looking for car because you need the road that moves, and then you need a static car that you will then be moving around. We will look at the car later. Let's just get our road ready. Vertical road give. So let's pick another road. Let's pick this one, right? Let's pick this road, even though I didn't like it because it doesn't have like a sunset kind of effect. I didn't like this road. This one is too fast. This one is another thing entirely. This one already has something. Do you see this one now? This one doesn't have the road is not moving. This is exactly what we want to do, right? You can see that the road is not moving. Immediately the road start moving, it will now look as if the bike is going. That is the illusion. So that's why we're looking for an image that is already moving, so that we can then be moving the car about, then to look as if the road is going. So for lack of background, I'm looking for another background. That's the background that doesn't have car in it. You can see this one now. This one already has car in it. This would have been perfect. Let's go and use, let's use the one we have. Let's move on. Let's use the one we have. But that one is just too slow. We shall have the one that has fast. Okay, let's use it like that. Okay, let's move on. Now we have our background. This is the background. So what we want to do right now is to put our background in our app. So this is the app, is blank. So let's start designing. This is just a container, right? I will create a div, and what I do here, I just say this is the road, right? This will contain the road. I don't need to type road there. I'm just putting it there. Let me remove the road. I don't need to type road there. Then I put a class called road. I want to style the road. How do I style the road? I know that I need it to be in a certain height. I know that I need to set the background. Those are the things that need to happen. So let's go ahead and set the background. We already downloaded the image. Background image is URL, and it's just called road.gif. So that is set. However, we need to set the height of this so that it can contain, you know, what we are doing. Very important. Okay, let's make sure that I'm recording. Okay, so we do height. Let's do 300 and let's see what that is. So you can see 300. So that is 300. So it means we need to go more. Let's do 400. And we have this. So we have our road already there. The next thing we want to do is to, let me reduce the font of what we have here so that we can have, let me say 22. Okay, so we have our road already working. The next thing we want to do is for us to get it centered in the middle, because if you stretch your browser, you can see the road. The road is not even done very well, so we still need the bottom. So we need it to stretch out. Let's try 500. So you can see that, you can see the way 500 looks. That's 500. Let's try 600. But it looks as if it's even longer than that. Okay, so let's leave it at 700. So the width can be 100%. The width can be 100%. And what else do we want to do here? What else do we want to do? I would now do positioning. I want it to be in the center. Background positioning. I want to do center. Center means the image should be in the center. You can see one white on top. That's repetition. It's repeating the image. So I will tell it that background repeat should be none. Background repeat should be no repeat. So that way you can see it now put everything very well. So let's move on to what we have next. The next thing now is to put our car on the road. Let's put our car on the road. So here we have our car. We can say class. Even though you know the idea is for us to create a car and put it right there. So because we're going to be having one car, like is one car that the user is going to be manipulating at all points in time, what I would do, I will just have ID is equal to car. That way, anytime we are referring to a car, we know that it's the car that the user car. Let me call it user car. That's the car that the user is using. And the next thing we want to be able to do is also to be able to style it. But first of all, let's bring the car in. So the user car here will be this. We've not done any JavaScript though. We're just still designing. He is still designing. We're not doing anything. So this car is an ID. User car is an ID. Then I told you that I've already gone ahead to go and get the car, done to save time. So this is the car that I have, and I did two sides of the car. In the sense that I did when it's curving in, and I did when it's going straight, kind of. If this car is on this lane, it will look like this. If it's going on the extreme lane, it will look like that. So you will see how the dynamics is going to work as we go ahead. So, but you have car 1 and car 2. That's what I call it. But let's give it a proper name. And let's say we have car at an angle. I'll say car angle, because this is at an angle, and then I'll call this one car back. Like this is a full back of the car. So that is properly described. Let's go back to the car, to the app itself, and let's see what else we need to do. Now we want to put the car on the road. The idea of this one should show the car. I can just default to a particular part of the car. It doesn't necessarily, because when you are starting the game, obviously the car will be in a position. So you can use this as an initialization to initialize the car, or we can use JavaScript to start the game. In fact, let's use JavaScript to start the game. So what I want to do is I will put a button on the bottom that will say start, kind of. And notice that the animation is moving. It's not stopping. That's another issue we need to control. We need to let the game start, as in be stagnant, until we say start before it start moving. That way we kind of have a control. So on the bottom, let's create buttons. So this is the end of the road. This is where the road stops. We can just go on under and have something like this and have our buttons. Buttons. So I can have, what can I call it now? I can say start engine. Oh no. Start game. Okay. So I can say start game. Where's my button? So my button is showing bottom here. I want my button to be where I can see everything. So I think I need to adjust the height of this thing. Let me try 500. Yeah, this is more like it. So let me give it some styling. I will do BTN SM. This BTN, you're supposed to see it now. Maybe it's bootstrap. Okay. Let me do BTN primary. Okay. So start game. So I'm thinking through what I think we want to see. Start game. What other thing? So let's, by default, we don't want the road to be moving. We want the road to stay stagnant. Very important. How do we achieve that? So the only way to achieve that is to take a snapshot of a stagnant road. There's no way to stop this animation. It's just to take a picture of a stagnant road. So what we need to do is we need to rename this road as moving. So we'll call it moving road. And then we'll take a screenshot of a stagnant road and we'll rename it stagnant or something like that. So that we'll be able to, so that when we do start game, we will then replace it with the road that is moving. And when we stop the game, we use a stagnant road. So this is what I will do now. I will look for where my app is. I have it here. I have road here. So if I open this like this, you can see the animation. So my Mac allow me to do this. So what I can do is I can pick anyone and use it as my image, and that will be my full image. Let me see the one I want to use for my full image. Yeah, I can use this one. So I think I should be able to export only one of it. This is a GIF, right? So I can export this to back to my desktop. I'll pick it in download later. So let me just say road stop, right? And I can just use it as, there's no GIF. Okay, let me leave PNG alone. Okay, so we are done with that. I pick the update. So it's called road stop. It didn't stop. Oh, it didn't stop. So what I'll just do is I will just do a screenshot with my system. So I'll do a road stop. I need this one, yes. So I'll just do this. So that one is, it will be saved here. So this one is not animated. Go back to my desktop, lesson 1, and I call it road stop. So by default, this is what we have. So when we want to animate, we'll move. So this is what we have. Once we want to animate, we'll move this way. Okay, so let's do that. By default, you do road stop, and it's a PNG. So that's what we have by default. This guy is not clean at all. So let me check what is happening. Okay, so let me check the dimension of what I copied and the screenshot of what I did. So the dimension of this one is 800 by 600. 800 by 600. This one is having a very crazy dimension, right? So this is the dimension for this one. So let's use another property to set the dimension so that we will not have different dimension. So I will use size. I'll use background size. So that way we will have the same dimension. Let me see 800. You can see now it's corrected. 800. I can just stop there. So you can see, let's now try when he's playing to see if he doesn't flicker. Then if I say it should play, so you can see that it's working well. So this 800 fixed it because that's the dimension of the image originally. So it fixed that. So by default, our game is like this. When we click start, it will start moving. So let's do it gradually. Let's not be too fast to do this. So what I want to do is, since we are talking about objects, right? I'm bringing objects into the whole thing. So I want to turn the whole game into an object stuff so that we can play with the whole thing. So I will just say I have an object called carries or gameplay. Yeah, gameplay is an object. So this is where the game will start, at the bottom here. The game will start at when I say game.start. So here is the object of this one holds the entire idea of the whole game. All what I'm going to be writing is going to be different from all what you've learned so far. We've learned to be using procedural, changing elements. We're still going to do that. We're going to do this in context of game, or rather in context of objects. So here now, I can say, before I go, I can say what I can tell it that I can say start game. I can just say start. Then I'll write the function to start the game here. I'll write the function to start the game here. So meaning by the time I click start game, it should go and run this function to start the game. So just to notify you, I want to say something and say game has started. Of course, that's not what we will do. We will just do the main thing. I just want to show you that it's working. So let's do it gradually. So at this point, when you click on this button, I will come here and say on click. On click, I will say start game. So you are calling a function start game. You need to then create that function. We are already used to this part, creating function. So to create function, you do function start game then you can then do gameplay. Gameplay is what? Is an object now. then you do dot what? Dot start. Does that make sense? So let's see what happens if we click start game. This error thing has started again. Okay, let's debug the program. Let's debug the program. Okay, so we have our address here, and let's see what happened. So this is our code. We want to debug the error to see what happened, because we clicked start game and nothing happened. So this will tell us what happened. So let's click on start game, and yeah, nothing. It didn't show anything here. So it means that this part was not triggered. So look at the error. There's no K in our on click. There's no K here. So I had to take a look at it again. So it's very important that you are very careful when you are running your program. Little like things like this will just creep up on you, even to the most veteran programmers. You know, to just still come up. So let's see if we can run it again and see what happened. So now do you see that game has started? So on click on this, it says game has started. So let's see what happened. What did we just do? What we just did was to create an object of a game where the idea is I want to put this whole game together, right? And then we say it should start. We are calling a method, and once you say method, once you run this method start, you should say that the game has started. Of course, what we want to do now is to change the background of it being stagnant to it being moving. How do you do that? It's from here. You set the road property here, and you change it to what? You change it to road so that it will start moving. So that's just what we need to do. There are different options. I'm thinking of best option to use to start this. So this is where we're going to put our code in. So I'm thinking of the best option to do. Because we're going to have only one road, it's fine for us to do this, our road ID, to use an ID. So I can change this to ID, because you're only going to be having one road. You can't have more than one road. So what I need to do now is I have several tricks off my sleeves that I want to use. You can either go to the property and change this, in the code. Let's do that, which is what we've been used to all this while. So let's get this to do it. Let's get it here. I'm looking for an object way to do it. So we're here in the start to start it. Here is where I'm going to write the code to change that property. Okay, what I want to do here is to define what the road is. What's the road? Where are we starting the game? Where is the game anchored? The idea of the game. Where is the anchor of the game? That's what this one is. And the reason why I'm doing this is to show you properties, how I can make use of properties in the system. So I'm the one creating all this by myself. There are ways I can do it, but I want to make use of the object fully. That's why I'm doing all these things here. And here you can define and say the ID is road, because that's what you use here. So we can say the road is ID. So that means you can do documents .get elements by ID. Now, instead of you just saying typing road here, you already have the ID here, and that way we can use the word this.id. So doing it like this, you automatically got this ID here, and you can do anything you want to do with this, because this ID is tied to this road. And the idea of specifying ID here is that you can determine what elements you want to apply your road on. you can determine what element you want to apply your road on. So you are applying our road on this element here. That's the idea of this ID that will specify, where to place your road. So what we want to do here is to change the background. So you can do style dot background image. I think there's background image. Background. I think background URL. So I'm looking at all the options there. Okay, that's it there, background image. And I set it to what it's supposed to be. So what's the name now? The name is supposed to be .gif, road.gif. So I go in there and I change it to, so this is how CSS is expecting us to make use of it. Let's try it again and see if that works. So if we do this, you can see that the game is starting and this is working. Let's stop it. Let's create stop as well. So with that same method, let's create stop. So I'm going to create stop quickly, and for stop it's just going to be the same thing, but instead I will just I'll copy and then I will do PNG and dash stop. Right, so we'll now create our stop button. Create our stop button and I'll put it red. So I'll say stop game and I'll create my function to stop game. Then I'll just put some color here, danger, and I have to create function to stop my game. Stop game. Okay, instead of start now, I'm calling what? Stop. So let's give it a try. Let's see if the game will start and stop. So when we say start, it's starting, right? Then when you say stop, it stops. Start, then stop, it stops. So we have this figured out. Before we move further, I want to clean it more. I want to do a little bit of cleanup here. So you will notice that we are making use of this object very well. So I could as well just say that my ID here is my element. I can just say it's the road. That's the road, and I can give this to it. I just say road. This is the road. This is the element for the road. So that I can do this dot road is that. And I can also do I can do this. Stop. So this is our gameplay. This is our whole game. We've not created car objects, by the way. We are still playing with this. We'll go ahead and create the car objects soon. I think now. So let's test it again and see if it works. So we just abstracted the creation of the road. We just created it outside. So we didn't do anything special. So start and stop is working. Let's go ahead and create car. Let's see how. There's nothing special about car. The object, what will it have? Because before now I wanted to have the ability to choose different kind of car. You understand? So that you'll be able to pick, one car from the other car and things like that. But I just, that will take us, forever to complete. We have to now have several options. You will now have a drop down button here that will say you should pick the car you want. But we can do that, but I didn't have many pictures of cars. I just have one car. So maybe in the next class, we will have ability for us to choose the car we want. So once we choose the car, you can then say start game. Based on the car that you chose, the picture of the car will appear here, and that's what you'll be using to play your game. So let's go ahead and create a car object. So this is the gameplay object. Let's create a car object. So we come here and do car is equal to, of course, we are defining now. This is how we define it. Whatever you are putting here should be what you will be using. So in a car, what we want to be doing, even though we are saying start and stop the game, even though the car too we have start and stop, but I want to focus on movement of the car. That's left and right. That's the only thing we are doing on the car. So that we can be more, focused on what we are doing, because we'll be moving the car left and right. So okay, yes, I will also do the car handle. I'll just call it handle. The handle of the car. The handle of the car is the element on the HTML tag that is controlling it. So what do I mean by handle? So this is what I mean by handle. This guy, this car handle. This is where the car will sit. That's why I call it handle. So, and notice what it's called. It's called user ID, user underscore ID. So I made up all these things myself. So I call it user handle. So this handle itself, I just gave it a name. You can call it anything. And the reason why I want to have an handle is because I want to know what to manipulate. When I'm saying move left, what will I be moving left? Do you get? So that's why I'm doing all that thing. Rose, you want to ask a question? Okay. I will move on. Okay, let's continue. So
yes.
Okay, ask your question.
Yes. I want to ask the question. Okay, yes, let's assume that to me I'm a novice. Okay, when you declare your car variable.
Yes.
So how will you know that the next thing you have to put is handle?
I just said that all these things are made up name. Okay, let me handle that. Everything I'm doing, they are made up. Everything. Down to start and stop. I didn't, even down to road. I just made it up. Right? So number one, that's why I'm walking you through this process. Number one, you want to do a game. And you know that the game will have a road. And the road will move. So it is left to you to decide what you want to call the road that moves. Look at the name we call the road that stay. I call it road that stop. Why didn't I make it road that cancel or something else? Even this handle, I can decide to say I'm calling it ID. What I meant by handle is that I want something that I can use to control the car. Look at this one I call road, right? Under gameplay, I call it road because I know that ID, that handle, that handler, this is what is called on the road. So therefore, I want it. I want a name that can make sense out of. That's why I'm just saying car handle. Okay, let me even say I'm not even using the word handle. The idea of me using this handle is so that I can make things easier in my object. So I'm gonna ignore the word handle and I'm going to introduce it back later in the program, and then it's gonna help your understanding of what I'm doing. But we all agree that we need to move the car left and right. So we agreed that. So I will just say move left, which is going to be a function, right? Which I'm not going to write now. I'm going to write it later. Then I'll have another one and say move right. Function. I like how this is going to work. But I won't implement what I want to implement because you guys are not here. I wanted to use my keyboard to implement it, left and right. But you're not going to be seeing my hand as I'm pressing it. So I'm going to put two buttons here, left, right. But trust me, I'm going to implement, I'm going to give that as an assignment for you to implement it. And once you press your left button on your keyboard, it should go left. Once you press right button on your keyboard, it's going to go right. But we're going to use buttons for now, just to save time. We're going to use buttons. So I have move left and move right. You're supposed to, separate by comma. So you agree that we want to move the car left and right. And that's what we are doing now. We agree on that. That's why we have that name. You can call it any name. I just decided to call it something that I can relate with. The next thing that I want to do is I want to be able to put those buttons here, left and right. I want to put them here quickly. So to put them there, I will do this kind of separation. I will do row here. I'll do 2 different columns. Put all these guys into one and create another one. And create this guy so that I can have 2 more columns here, and they're going to be my left and right. So I'm going to call them another name. Yeah, obviously I'm going to call them move left and move right. That's the function. I've not created this function, by the way. Move left and move right. I've not created the function. It's just carrying the same name of an inner function of a car, but this is a global function from the Windows. So I have that. I want to give it I want to introduce, let me see if I can have arrow up or arrow left. Let's try this. Okay, let me use this button. So then I will have right. Okay. This is not the one that I want to. I want that one that looks like a button. So I have right. Oh, let me use the hand self. Let me use the hand. This, and I want left. Okay, so let's quickly do that. So I have all these guys removed. So my right is here and this is my left. Okay, so we have that button there, but let me just say something. Right. Okay, the next thing we want to do is once we start the car, or rather once we start the game, right, the car should appear. Yeah, once we start the game, when is the starting of the game? This is the starting of the game. The car should appear here, you know, after the road has started, the car should show, or whatever. So the car should show here. So you might then want to create another. Let me bring this one here. Let me bring this one here. So let's bring the car using CSS first. I'll just copy what we have here. I'll copy virtually everything, then I'll just tweak. So things that we don't need the width being 500. The height can be, I don't know the height yet, but let me say the height 100. Let me say the height is 100. Then I know that the car is, we have car at an angle and car back. So I'll just say car back. And you can see the car at the top. You can see where the car is now. It's located at the top. So of course we don't want it to repeat. The size, let me mute the size for now and see what it comes with. So we can use the size as it is. Then the position of the car. So let's now use positioning to move it around. So we have absolute, fixed, static, sticky, relative. So to make us see what it is we are dealing with, I'm just going to set border. So that we can see what we are dealing with. Red, solid. Okay, so you can see that it's on that side. Then you can then do left. So you then know that what you now what I worried about is now the width. So you can then do width and it will now come out. So we can do width of 220. Yeah, 230. Okay, that width is okay. Then we want to bring it down. So you can then do top of 100 px. So you can see that it's coming down now. You can do this. It will now come down to what you can work with. So let's do 230. Okay, but I think it's still small. Where is that size again? Let's do 400. It's looking like it now, but now it has gone down too much. Let's do 200. So we now need to increase the width. The width should be 300. So we need to adjust the car. Okay, I think we are looking good now. So let me remove the border, and this is for me for the system to guide me on what is happening. So let's do our start. Even by our start alone, it looks as if the game is working already. It looks as if we already have a working game from our start. When we move left, of course, you want the car to move to the left hand side. But let's stop first. So we stop the car, everything stops. So by default, I think it's okay that the car shows by default, knowing that we've not started the game. So once you start the game, the car should be moving. Then you stop, everything stops. So this is fine. So, but now we need to be able to move left. How do you move the car left? We move the car left using these settings here. You use these settings here, left, top and width. You don't need to worry about width again. Once you change this position, left and top, or rather maybe left now. If you change left now, what will happen to this car? It will move towards the side. Let me just practicalize it and show you. By default, this is where the car is staying. This is where the car is staying. So if you change this to 100, what do you see happen? It moves, its position. So that's how we are going to be moving it. We are going to be moving it by changing the property of the left attribute or of the left value, using the CSS. This is CSS. We're going to go and change this value so that it will move when we press the left side. That's what is going to happen. So that we don't have conflict, I'm going to rename this function to something else. I'm going to say car left or move car to left. Right, yeah, I'm going to do something like that to be more explicit so that it will change this, it will, so that you will not mix it up with this. This is a function that you are calling globally so that you can be able to make use of the inner function of this. So I'm going to go down here and write my function for moving the car to the left. Then I have function move left, and what would that do? I'll just say car dot move left, and it should just move left. I've not written the code to move left, but that's the idea. So let me replicate for right, for moving right, and I will change this to right, and then I'll say move right. So everything should just work if we go and do the needful here. So in this, so I think we are not worrying about show again. Let's ignore the show. We don't need to do show again. I think by default the car should just be there waiting for you to say you want to start the game. You can always implement higher level of features on your gaming platform. Okay, so I want to do move left, and this is where you now start getting the elements used car. Do you see where you will need handler? Instead of me every time I'll do documents dot get elements by ID, because I want to manipulate it. Mind you, I want to manipulate the elements in such that the style attribute of the left should move. So you can see all the long code I'm writing. That's why I wanted to have an handler. I already have this in the back of my mind because I have thought ahead of this. and it's easier. And that's what I did here. I was able to carry the road as an object and play with it, in here. And you saw me using that this. So if I didn't use handler, this is what I would end up doing, writing a long code like this and say style. We are doing the left part of style. Left is equal to, let's say 50. Because it's 50px, it has to be a string, 50px, right? I'll do the same thing to move right. And that reminds me, you want to do an incremental. That reminds me, there's going to be a little bit of challenge here. Now the challenge is that you know that as it is now, you need to be able to know the current value and add it so that it will move in addition to that value that you have. So I will explain what I mean so that you will get it. I will explain. Let's do it so that you understand what I mean. So we do the right the same way, because you want to increment by, at the position it is now. If you go and look at the styling, the position it is now is 200. If you want to move left, it's either you are moving left to 0, and then you move right. You move right to back to 200. Okay, let's do it that. If it didn't work well, then we can now think of another solution. So when you are moving right, you are moving right back to 200. 200. Yes. So let's play with that. So when I say start game starts, then you move left. You say move car to the left. So you can see that the car has been moved to the left, but we need to remove that caution that says move car to the left. So we need to move that alert. What is that alert? Okay, we need to remove this alert that says move car to the left. So I think we can test inside here as well. So if you do move left, so you can see that your car is moving left and it's moving right. So the idea is that you need to be able to move left more than one times, right? Because you should be able to do like move left, you should be able to do like 3 different kind of moves instead of just left and right. Left and right looks not too, balanced. So you should be able to move your car in left, right. That way it kind of look balanced, so there should be like where you move in the middle, there should be extreme left, and there should be something like that, So let me change the car to carry another form. Of course, by the time we are doing this, the next class, we're going to go advanced angle. So look at the angle look. The angle look gives you a kind of different perspective, and the idea is that when I just look for a car that has different angle, so that when you are here, the car is not doing well. This is not a good angle for this car. So when you're in left position, the car should be looking front, dead straight. Then when you are right, this angle looks okay, kind of. It still look kind of okay. Then when you're left, it should be looking face forward, like the car one or something like that. So I will just change it back to back. So this looks better. Okay, so that's our car for the day. That's for our game for today. Where's the car? The car has disappeared. That's the game we have for today. And you can see that we didn't use any special effects, nothing special in our gaming platform. We didn't do anything special, right? So in our future game, because the idea is to take this thing to the next level, we need to be dodging obstacles. We need to be collecting fuel, right? When you get fuel, if you get the fuel, and we will use that positioning that you saw to identify if you've gotten a fuel or not. There will be a meter that says your fuel is going down, all those things. We can do a car coming. We won't do a car coming, we just do a car overtaking. We might not do it, depending on how far we can push this to.
So it's okay. Infusing all those codes and all that.
So look at what I did. The major. Okay, so let's analyze the code. Maybe that will help. First of all, let's look at the HTML structure. I'm going to ignore so many things like the buttons, right? So the major thing is this guy, the road and the car. Those are the major things. And I went online to get the road, right? And I put it as a background. That is it there. And I also did the car, and I made the car overlay on the road, right? And I did something so that we can have a car that is stopped, or rather a background that is stopped, and then we can start. So that way the game is not playing automatically. It's until you click on start that the road is going to start moving. And I told you something when we were going through Google and trying to get the background. I said these things, they are illusions. I didn't do anything special. I just make the background start, going, and then I just moved the car from one position to the left position. That's what I did. So let's see. The only thing that I did that was special was using objects. I'm sure if I didn't use objects, it would be easy for you to grasp. And I won't be justifying this class if I didn't teach you guys objects. And that's why I showed you from the beginning how I started. Like, I did the whole thing as a gameplay, which is here. And from our definition from what an object is, an object has a property and has methods. And we define the method start and stop. You can see what we're doing in the method. We're just saying, okay, change the background to the one that is moving. Okay, stop. Change it to the one that is stop. Nothing out of the ordinary. And we're able to, this one is just to specify which element is carrying the road. And we just repeat ourselves here and start. Same thing with the car. What we just did in the car was to change the position from what it is to 0. That way it comes to extreme left. And when we say move right, we change it to the extreme right. So more sophisticated stuff are even coming ahead, where you can have a timer, to time you can save user gameplay, all those things. More objects requirements are even coming in the front. So what I can do now is, for people watching online, I will put this on our Telegram. I'm putting on Telegram right now. If you don't have our Telegram details, it's Process Guy Community. Process Guy Community. Go to the group Process Guy Community. I'm putting this game there now so that you guys can have a feel of what it looks like. I'm gonna put all the requirement. That's requirement too. So let me just zip it. Let me zip all the things that it has. I think it has a couple of let me create a new folder and say game. So we made use of, I'm going to copy an instance of this so it doesn't revalidate what we're doing. And then we have two roads, the road 1 and road 2. That's the road to stop and road to start. Then I have the car. I have the car angle and the normal car. We didn't use the car angle very well. It's just for me to show you other options that you have. So these are everything. I'm going to zip it now and put it in that group. If you are not on our group, check it. It's on my bio. Join the Process Guy community group. You can get this file there. I'm gonna compress this file and put it on the group. So just say version game. Okay, so by the way, you guys can also subscribe on our YouTube page. Is Process Guy. The YouTube page is Process Guy. What I will ask you to do from here is for you to go to what we've done. Go through the code of what we've done. Go and download another background online. Let me show you. The reason why I'm asking you to do this is that by the time you play with it, car background, road background. So you can do something. You can even change the road, right? You can choose another method. Cartoon. You can use another method. You can use this type, this one that likes this, but of course you'll not be able to move the car up and down. But yeah, you can do up and down because you can have a 2-lane kind of car here. Let me say and give. So that way we can see animated one. I even saw something like this. Yeah, something like this that will be moving. This is the one I saw. So why is it not moving?
Link on the.
You said what?
Get a link. Check the message.
Okay.
Download the.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so you can see this one. Do you see this car going now? Right? It's just the background that is changing. So even though this one now is not available, it's not available to pick, but there are background that is straight like this that moves. This is another one. Right? It's very easy. Just put objects. If you put object there to look as if it's moving, then you just focus on other thing like jumping and things like. You can even do somebody racing. So you can look for somebody already running, and then you put an obstacle on the road. Then when you press up button, the person will leap, and things like. There are so many ideas that you have, but don't let us forget the purpose of what we are doing. The purpose is to communicate objects, how object works, the fact that objects encapsulate, all of its function. Like within a car now, you can see what a car does. A car is an object. You move left and you move right. You don't need to call a special function outside of a car. The car can handle itself. So just like the gameplay, you can start the gameplay and you can stop the gameplay. And this is the basics of objects. So that's the basis. And the more you do it. Thank you for staying to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on bell notification in order to be notified when we release new videos. See you in the next one.